Hi, everyone. I am Chris Rovzar, and I'm the editorial director of Bloomberg Pursuits, which is Bloomberg's lifestyle, luxury, and culture vertical. We cover food and wine and travel and fashion and cars and real estate and the arts, basically all the fun stuff. And sustainability is a big part of what we do because your lifestyle is where you can choose to prioritize the environment and our future in a meaningful way. I want to thank everyone for tuning into our panel on the new sustainable reality. You've just heard from three very big companies who are making big strides in the sustainability space. And now we're going to hear what it's like from the front lines of invention and innovation. I'm here to bring together three really fascinating founders. These are people who are leading three very different startups, which are addressing the sustainability space and natural products in really different ways. I'm here with Sarah Paiji Yoo, the CEO and founder of Blueland, which is a direct-to-consumer brand that sells innovative, earth-friendly cleaning products that come in refillable containers. We also have Thomas Jonas, the CEO of Fynd, which is a new meat alternative, a protein which is basically from outer space, and I will let him explain that to you. And Dr. Kristian Edwards is here. She's the founder of BLK Green, which is a marketplace that showcases natural beauty and wellness products from Black-owned companies. So let's get started. Dr. Kristian, could you introduce yourself and tell us the story of BLK Green? What is it and how did you come to start it?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Dr. Kristian Edwards. I have a doctorate in public health. And during my research and my studies, I read an article that the products marketed to Black women are more toxic than products marketed to anyone else. And when I found this out, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awful. Around the same time me learning about the products marketed to Black women are more toxic, I also read the book called Our Black Year. And in that book, I talk about the economic importance of supporting Black owned brands. So I went on a personal journey to try to buy as many natural products as I could and as many Black owned products as I could. So I had a long list of all these different brands and different products I was using. Some worked great, some didn't work at all. It was test and trial. And one day I was talking to my husband. I was like, oh my gosh, it would be so amazing. There was a marketplace called Black and Green, and I could just go and get everything that was Black and Green. That would be so amazing. And he looked at me like, why don't you just start it? And so that's where Black and Green was born.
And Thomas, I want to hear the story of Fynd. How did it start, and what does it aim to do, and when are you going to launch? Tell us about it.
So Fynd is a food company for optimists. We started as a research project for NASA. And the goal of this initial research was to try to figure out a very simple question, which is where does life come from? And how could life have evolved in a very different environment than planet Earth? And that way took us on a journey trying to figure out how life could get organized in an environment that doesn't look at all like the one we typically lived in. So what we did is we went to study a very different environment than the one we live in on a daily basis, fortunately for us all. It's the acidic volcanic springs of Yellowstone National Park. And in this acidic volcanic spring, you have pH that are equivalent to your car battery level of acidity. So it's an extraordinarily challenging environment. And what we looked at is how nature evolved there, how it adapted. Our life learned to do more with less, which is a tremendously relevant lesson for us today as a species. One of the things we're going to have to learn in the next decades is how do we do more with less? And we discovered an unknown microbe that had evolved and adapted across many thousands and probably millions of years in this very unique environment. And it had become tremendously efficient at doing one thing in particular, which was building itself and thereby building protein. So we invented, leveraging the unique capabilities of these organisms, we invented a novel fermentation process, an air-liquid interface fermentation that enables us to create a new protein source that we can then use to make all sorts of food. So you mentioned meat, but we can also do dairy products and a bunch of other things. It's tremendously versatile. It's completely natural. It's a native organism. It is just a different type of agriculture, if you will, than the one we are familiar with. We're farming a microbe. So we will be bringing next year to the market our first product. The source of protein is called Fynd, and it's a new nutritional fungi protein that we're looking forward to share with the world. And it's very, very efficient, uses a fraction of the resources.
It sounds so amazing, and we're going to get more into how you make it and where you make it, because it's really fascinating. And Sarah, now tell us about Blueland and what it offers to consumers.
Yeah, so Blueland is on a mission to eliminate single-use plastic packaging, and we're starting with cleaning products. So we sell all of our products as part of a refillable system. So for example, our cleaning sprays and our liquid hand soap actually come with a set of beautiful, reusable, durable bottles and these refill tablets that are about the size of a quarter that come packaged in paper. And so when you run out of cleaning spray or you run out of hand soap, instead of going out and buying another plastic bottle of solution that may be 90% plus water, instead you take one of our bottles, you fill it up with warm to hot water, you drop in one of our tablets, and at the end of a few minutes, you have a full bottle of cleaning solution.
And can you tell us a little bit about how you came into the idea for Blueland and got into sustainability yourself? You have a great background in startups, and you're an entrepreneur. Would just love to hear about your story to get to where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey to founding Blueland actually started when I became a new mom. I breastfed my son for 11 months exclusively. It's like one of the hardest things I've ever done. And so when I was finally transitioning him to baby formula, very stereotypical first mom style, I took that decision very seriously. I was doing a ton of research around even what kind of water I should use to mix with his baby formula. And at that point, I was open, I was like, should I use bottled water? Should I use tap water? And I was horrified to learn that regardless of whatever drinking water you use, that our drinking water contains, hundreds of pieces of microplastics. And that was the first time for me that I started to really connect the dots between all this plastic that we're consuming as a society and how it's ending up in our waterways and our oceans, and how it's showing up, back in our food supply and the water we drink and the water that I was using to make my son's baby formula. And so at that point, I just, made a personal decision as a consumer to really just cut back on my single-use plastic. But it was a really interesting journey because as well-intentioned as I was, I just realized it's everywhere. Everything seemed to come packaged in just one way, in single-use plastic, whether it was ketchup or lotion or, again, window glass cleaner. And yeah, that's how, I came upon this idea of, given that I have sort of the serial entrepreneurial background, I realized that I could have such greater impact beyond my own personal consumption if I could find a way to give other consumers more choice.
And I'd love to hear just really quickly. So we were, hearing from big, huge consumer brands earlier who were trying to put new systems in place for existing infrastructure. What you had to do was literally invent chemistry, get machines that never existed. Can you just run us really quickly through the kind of stuff that you had to fabricate and find to make your product happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I love to tell people that, given that I'm a chemist and that I could bring something like this that had never existed before, for example, a cleaning tablet that you dilute with water, that means that anyone can really do anything. We dreamed up the idea for these hand soap and cleaning tablets, and everyone pretty much told us, look, there's a reason why these products just simply don't exist on the market. But, I was just so excited and, wouldn't take no for an answer. And so, to start, we reached out to about 40 different cleaning products manufacturers. And that's typically where you start as a startup. Most startups don't start by owning their own manufacturing. They typically work with an outside supplier or contract manufacturer. And, all the ones that we reached out to thought we were crazy because they were like, don't you know that these products are typically liquid and we don't even own tablet machinery? And in fact, most of our ingredients actually come to us as liquid. So you would have to reverse engineer all of that. And if you really want to do this, you need to come with your own formulation, which means you need a chemist. And so at that point, not being a chemist, my co-founder and I are both not chemists. We were in search for a chemist that could help us with this, and we had no chemists in our network. And so we simply turned to LinkedIn, and we still have our spreadsheet of hundreds of chemists that we had sort of filed away. And we were really looking for the sweet spot as someone that had deep industry cleaning products experience, but also had experience with dry formulations. And ultimately, I mean, we got the person that was our first choice. He was formerly director of formulation at Method, which is one of the largest non-toxic cleaning brands in the world. And incidentally, prior to his experience in cleaning, he was actually working in nutritional supplements. So vitamins, probiotics, et cetera. And so we checked sort of those boxes, and then we had to go find a manufacturer, and we got really creative. We spoke with, again, vitamins manufacturers, candy manufacturers, people that had tablet machinery experience with tablets. And ultimately, we ended up having to even purchase a lot of our own machinery to support the operations, which again isn't typical, but was the only way we were going to make this happen. And it's just, that's just sort of one anecdote to like many that I have that just kind of show that while, sustainability has become of, great and increased interest to the consumer, on the supply chain side, there is still a lot of work to be done to, really enable more sustainable products.
I have a question from the audience, and I think this is a great one to start with, Kristian. The audience question is, are you seeing more engagement and sales due to all the recent news, Black Lives Matter, wildfires, hurricanes, politics? Is there a sense that the current summer of 2020, the big crazy year we're having, is driving consumer behavior? And Kristian, your company is very much of the moment, supporting Black-owned businesses and taking better care of ourselves through natural products are like really top of mind. Can you tell us about your communication strategy and how are you growing your audience through your marketing?
Yeah, we have definitely seen an increase because of the current everything that's happening in the world, and so we are constantly trying to communicate the importance of health, the importance of Black-owned brands, and how all this connects together. We have definitely seen an increase of the people who are interested in our product and our brand, and so we're trying to be very clear about what does healthy mean. How do you figure out if a product is toxic or not? How do you understand the ingredients? Why is that important? And why supporting Black brands is important? So as our audience has changed, we have tried to change our message to try to answer their questions.
Yeah, and you've told me you can just be very straightforward about what you do because it's naturally what people are interested in and they want to learn more, and you can help educate them, which is so cool.
Exactly.
Thomas, speaking of being of the moment, when I first spoke to you, I made the mistake of saying that Nature's Fynd was entering a crowded field, and you argued that the world of protein alternatives is wide open and the market has really far to grow. So can you share with us some of the statistics that show how big you think your market could be?
Yes. So actually, my answer to you is to say that saying today that the market is crowded and it's pretty much a done deal would be the equivalent of sitting together in the 90s and saying that Nokia and Ericsson would have owned the mobile phone market. So I think we are really at the very, very beginning of this protein transition. And the meat market overall is about between 1.5 and 2 trillion. It's going to be between 1.5 and $2 trillion by the end of this decade. And today, there is a fraction of a percent of that has converted to protein alternative. On the other hand, if you look at the meat market in the US, today, in this year, the meat alternative will represent about 15% of milk. So there is tremendous growth potential for the category. And depending on who you listen to, UBS is saying this is going to be an $85 billion market by the end of the decade. Barclay is betting on a higher number than that, or around 140. So there is, my expectation is actually that it's going to be higher than that, because I think what we're seeing is a trend that today is not fully taking into consideration the drastic generational change that we're seeing. And Generation Z are saying at close to 50% that they intend to buy significantly less meat in the future. And today, when you survey the general population, you don't see it as much. So I think we'll see tremendous growth in the sector. We'll see many new solutions come. I think at the end of the day, a lot of the technology, there's going to be some technology progress that will be required, and we are excited to be part of this technology revolution that reveals nature and enables nature to deliver to us without us harming nature, which I think is absolutely essential.
One thing that I'm curious from all of you, we see a lot of studies that say that people will make purchase decisions based on, they'll take sustainability into an account when choosing between two products. But when there's a big price difference, that goes out the window, or that consideration goes out the window. And Thomas, when you think about pricing, how important is it to you guys in your plan to have a price, a competitive price or a cheaper price as you enter the market to gain your clientele?
So I think it's very important. I think when you look at protein, at the end of the day, it will turn out to be a very much a commodity market. But there are a couple of things that are very, very important as well, which are taste profile and which are, of course, the health attributes of the product. So I think especially when people look at food, they are very interested it tastes good. Nobody wants their food to taste anything but good. So flavor remains a key attribute. Health in the food category is also very, very important part of how people make their purchasing decision. And again, what we are seeing is that environmental concern becomes rapidly more and more relevant. And I think what we need to do as an industry is we need to be able to put on the table at price parity, if not a better price, products that hit the mark on these criteria that are very relevant, but also on sustainability and beat the current offer on sustainability. So our technology enables us to use a fraction of the resources. So we use 99% less land. We use almost 90% less water. We emit 99% fewer greenhouse gas emission. And our facility here in Chicago, which is located literally in the old meatpacking district, in the old Chicago stockyard, when it will be fully running, will be producing as much hamburger, if you will, as what you could get out of 15 acres of grazing land. So that efficiency, that technological efficiency, enables us to really take the cost down. Fundamentally, it's very much about the efficiency at the end of the day.
Sarah, you told me that you had, and it didn't surprise me, a huge spike in interest right at the beginning of the pandemic back in March. And I'm curious where you see, how you see that changing people's perspectives on your category, and B, I want to know how far you think we are away from a world in which everyone is using sustainable cleaning products and reusable cleaning products. Like I think I said, I guess 20 years away, and you think it might actually be sooner.
Yeah, definitely. So, unsurprisingly, COVID, drove an incredible surge in sales. We actually saw a 300% surge in sales pretty much overnight when COVID made landfall here in the US. And then at that point, our team was kind of wondering, would that be a one-time spike or would that continue? And, that the growth has continued sort of month over month since that initial spike. And it's interesting because we originally chose cleaning products because it's historically a very low interest category. Like people will switch from brand to brand. People aren't very channel loyal. And so it was a good place to get people into sort of a new behavior and into a new product versus like a deodorant or toothpaste or shampoo where people have very strong preferences. But again, overnight, all of a sudden, it became a category of very high interest. People were very interested in washing their hands properly, washing their hands often, cleaning down their surfaces. And so there was a lot of opportunity for us, especially as a direct-to-consumer brand, to pivot and really provide that education that people were looking for. But it was also challenging. Like, despite the surge in sales that we'd seen, we saw incredible operational challenges throughout our supply chain, as many other companies have. And at the same time, we had to slow down our operations really to protect our people. So instituting things like split shifts in our warehouse, which actually slowed us down to like half the capacity that we were before. We really pulled back on a lot of our marketing efforts as well, because we wanted to make sure that we were serving the customers that were coming to us sort of appropriately, so before attracting even more demand. But I think this period, this whole year has been one of great change, great behavioral change. And initially, I wasn't sure whether climate change and this incredible focus of plastic pollution that we had such great momentum around, especially end of 2019, if that was all taking a backseat to COVID. But I really don't think that's the case. I mean, even a recent Mintel report that I saw, it just came out, I think, last month. It was incredible to see the first time in the history of the survey, people were citing environmental health is the main reason they were opting for non-toxic products, non-toxic cleaning products, and not human safety. And that is a huge milestone. And, that's just sort of one of many reasons that I do believe that we're at a tipping point at this moment. The consumer, it's around us, like the hurricanes, the fires in California. People are realizing that it's come to a point of urgency, and, we all need to play our part. And so, I am hopeful and optimistic that that this is hitting the mainstream, and that we are just 5 to 10 years away from this really being the new standard and the new norm.
That is a great note to end on. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I'm just so grateful for you guys coming. These are really fascinating companies, and I encourage all of you to learn more about them. So thank you to Thomas, Sarah, and Kristian for joining us. And again, thank you everybody for coming.